You've been doing everything right. The early mornings, the extra hours, the side work you took on because you told yourself it was temporary. You've been grinding, not lazily, not half-committed, actually grinding. And somehow, the number in your account at the end of the month looks almost exactly the same as it did when you were making less. That is not a discipline problem. That is not a spending problem. That is an architecture problem. And nobody is going to say that on the productivity podcast you listen to on the way to work. Here's what's actually happening inside your finances right now. Every time you earn more, you don't just spend more, your entire financial structure expands to absorb the new space. Silently, without drama, without a single decision you could point to as a mistake. And the most dangerous part, it happens to people who are careful, people who are aware, people who are watching. Because here's the thing about wealth building, more income doesn't fix a broken income architecture, it accelerates it. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what that mechanism is. I'm going to walk you through why a person earning $55,000 with the right system will build more net worth this year than someone grinding at $100,000 who doesn't have it. And I'm going to give you the 3 levers, the 3 actual structural changes that close this gap. Not theory, executable, this week. But before we get there, sit with this for a second. Every month you keep running the income first model, the gap widens, not linearly, exponentially. Because the person who built a wealth building system 6 months ago isn't just 6 months ahead of you, they're compounding, and you're not. The distance doesn't shrink when you decide to start. It only starts closing the day you actually change the infrastructure. There's a concept in manufacturing called throughput. It's the rate at which a production system actually generates value after all costs are accounted for. And every operations engineer learns this from day one. You cannot increase output by running the machines harder if there's no storage system on the other side. You don't create more wealth, you create more waste faster. That is your financial life right now. You are a production line with no warehouse. Think about what that actually means. The factory floor is real, the machines are good, the workers show up early. Production goes up every time you grind harder. But at the end of the day, the end of every month, everything produced rolls out the back door before it can be stored, counted, deployed. More income doesn't solve this. More income just means more things rolling out the back. The warehouse was never built, and without the warehouse, the factory is just very expensive motion. Let me make this concrete because the data here is uncomfortable in a very specific way. Nearly half of Americans earning over $100,000 a year report living paycheck to paycheck. Not a rounding error, not people with catastrophic circumstances. Almost half. And before you file that under irresponsible behavior, look at the mechanism. At $50,000, your baseline expenses might consume 80% of income. That's tight, but the structure is clear. At $100,000, what happens? The apartment gets bigger because it felt earned. The car gets newer because it finally made sense. Subscriptions add up, better insurance tier, eating out because time got expensive, the gym you actually go to now because you care about performance. Each upgrade felt justified. Each one was individually reasonable. But together, they rebuilt the entire cost structure around the new income level. The expenses didn't stay flat, they followed, and your income management never changed, it just got faster. The production line accelerated, the warehouse was never built. This is what income strategy without a capture system actually looks like at scale. And here's what makes it dangerous. The person inside this cycle genuinely believes the solution is more income. So they push harder, chase the raise, take the side project. And the cycle doesn't break, it gets louder. You're not getting richer, you're getting busier, getting richer. Now here's the inversion that breaks all of this. Let's talk about Sarah. Sarah earns $55,000. She's not exceptional at restraint. She's not a minimalist. She doesn't track every dollar. She has the same human impulses everyone else has. But before she ever sees her paycheck in the account, she spends from 18% of it has already moved. Not later, not when there's enough. First, automatically, into 3 separate containers that have no debit card attached. Sarah doesn't make more, she captures more. And what she captures, she deploys not into a savings account earning fractions of a percent, into assets that generate income while she sleeps. Her factory is smaller, but she has a warehouse, and that warehouse has an overnight crew. The person earning $100,000 with no system is running a bigger factory with no storage and no overnight shift. Every morning, they start from zero. At the end of 12 months, Sarah's net worth has grown. The $100,000 earner's net worth is essentially flat, not because they spent on luxuries, because everything their production line created passed through a system with nowhere to land. More income inside a broken architecture does not build wealth, it builds a more expensive version of the same problem. Now here's where most people push back, and I understand why, because the pushback feels logical. If I just made more, I could save more. It sounds right. It's one of the most financially costly beliefs a person can hold. Because what behavioral economics consistently shows is that income and savings rate are almost entirely uncorrelated. As income increases, the marginal tendency is not to capture, it's to consume. High earners don't proportionally save more, they proportionally spend more. The financial discipline doesn't appear automatically with a bigger paycheck, and without deliberate architecture, every additional dollar finds a new need before the month ends. There's even a name for this pattern. In the 18th century, the philosopher Denis Diderot received a beautiful scarlet robe as a gift. Within months, he had replaced his desk, his chair, his rug, his art, everything adjusted to match the robe. One upgrade triggered a cascade. He ended up in debt, the Diderot Effect. Your salary increase is the scarlet robe, and right now, your entire lifestyle is looking around deciding what doesn't fit anymore. So where does this leave most people? Earning more than they thought they would at this age, working harder than they expected, and still, somehow, never actually feeling like they're building anything. The number goes up, the anxiety holds steady, the treadmill gets faster, the gap between where you are and where you assumed you'd be by now seems almost deliberately maintained. That is not a motivation problem, you have plenty of that. That is a systems problem, and systems problems do not respond to more effort, they respond to redesign. So here are the 3 levers. These are not money habits, these are infrastructure changes. The difference matters. The first lever, the capture rate. Before income touches the account you spend from, a fixed percentage is automatically redirected. Not a goal you'll hit when things settle down. A system, permanent, non-negotiable. The wealth-building literature is remarkably consistent on this. It's not the percentage that matters most in the beginning, it's the automation. Start at 5% if that's where you are. Build to 10. The exact number is secondary to the architecture. Wealth doesn't start when you earn more. It starts the day the first dollar is captured, before the production floor knows it ran. The second lever, the friction layer. Right now, for most people, earned money and spending money live in the same place. One account, one card, one system where inventory and production floor are in the same room. Every time you need something, you pull from the warehouse without realizing it. The friction layer means named accounts, money that has crossed a border cannot be accidentally spent. When funds have to travel to be consumed, unconscious spending stops. The warehouse becomes visible. You stop confusing production volume with stored value. The third lever, compounding deployment. Captured money sitting in a standard savings account is not working. It's waiting, and waiting money loses to inflation every single day. The third lever routes your captured funds into vehicles that compound: index funds, high-yield instruments, assets that employ themselves at night. This is where Sarah's system separates permanently from the $100,000 earners. Her warehouse doesn't just fill, it multiplies. Once your money earns money, you stop being only a producer. You become an owner of production. These 3 levers do not require a higher income to activate. Sarah at $55,000 is running all 3. The person at $100,000 running none of them is producing more, storing nothing, and compounding 0. Here's what changes when the infrastructure exists. The grinding doesn't stop, but now it compounds. Every dollar arrives with a destination already assigned. The warehouse fills, the assets multiply. 6 months in, something shifts, not because your income went up, but because for the first time your income management is aligned with your actual goal. The anxiety starts to quiet, not because you have more, because the system is working. And if you want to earn more, now the extra income doesn't disappear, now it multiplies. The engine and the architecture are finally pulling in the same direction. Every dollar you produce goes somewhere that produces more. The production line was never the problem, the warehouse just didn't exist. Here's the question I'll leave you with. If you built the system today, not next month, not after the next raise, today, how far ahead would you be from where you are right now in 12 months? Because the person who started building this last year isn't just ahead of you in net worth, they're ahead of you in compounding, and that distance doesn't pause while you think about it. Your financial freedom doesn't start when your income hits the next level. It starts the day the warehouse opens for business. The production line is already running.